All right.
Hey everybody, this is your host with the Roots Podcast, Sean Pitcher. Today, I'm lucky to have on Michael Urban. He is the mental performance life skills consultant for the Cameron Institute with Cal Athletics. I know Mike from our experience at IMG Academy together. Great guy. Very excited to have him on to discuss a variety of different topics with us today. Mike, welcome.
Yeah, Sean, thanks for having me, man. And right back at you. You're a great guy as well. I'm happy our paths crossed at IMG Academy.
And they're going to continue to keep going from there. But I start with every single person that comes on this podcast, who is Mike Urban? Behind the credentials, the name, Cal, IMG Academy, like who are you?
That's a heavy hitting question right off the gate, man. So I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I'm a guy that just really believes in a service model, and I think that started for me from a young age with both of my parents being teachers, and my dad was a coach, and understood the service model part of it. And so for me, from a young age, I knew I wanted to help people. I didn't know what that looked like. I originally thought I was going to be a closer in the MLB and thought I'd be helping the Chicago Cubs win a World Series, and that just didn't work out, man. So and it's evolved for me over my career with what I thought I was going to do, and what I'm actually doing now. But it's funny, just to want to be around people, want to help people. I'm a guy that loves building relationships with people. I'm a guy that really cares about other humans, and want people to become their best. And I think helping others become their best helps make me my best. So just someone that just loves being around, and having a good time, man, and really enjoy connecting with other humans, athletes, performers, anything around that nature. And if you want to throw us out there, I'm an avid golfer as well, so we can add that to my list, man. PGA Tour didn't work out for me either, so some about those who can't do just teacher coach, man. So that's probably where I'm at.
Mike's a man of many talents. That's all we could say. We have our own little. I'll throw him this. Hopefully, he'll catch it.
Yeah, we got what we're doing.
That's our inside joke. But
Yeah.
so I know you recently started with Cal Athletics in the Cameron Institute. Is this development of mental performance and life skills, is that something new there? I haven't heard of it before, or has there someone been there, but they're adding more staff onto your group? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. I'm really fortunate to be out here at Cal, and such a remarkable university, and then the support that they have through the Cameron Institute. So the Cameron Institute started, I want to say, about 3 or 4 years ago with a very, very generous donation from a guy named Brian Cameron, and they started, and what it's built out to now is four different pillars for student athlete development. So you have the mental performance and leadership, which is where I'm working at. You have community engagement, and then you have career development as well, and then so obviously the mental and performance is the other ones, which is really exciting for the student athletes to have the resources for. So this originally started. They hired Marissa Nichols to be the director of the Cameron Institute, and then one of the best guys in the field, man, is Dr. Greg Chow. He came from Florida State. He got out here, I want to say, like 2.5, 3 years ago, and so he was the only person for mental performance. And what he's done is really remarkable in the work that he's actually gone through. From my understanding, is he's gone around to every team. He's offered services to all the athletes, and there's over 800 athletes here. We have, I think, like 28 sports maybe at Cal. Depending how you split up the coaches, could be like 28 to 30 in programs. And so he's gone around, and it's been really special because he's gotten 24 of the programs now that have opted into wanting their own full-time mental performance consultant. So these are the first two hires. They hired myself, and then in a senior role, they hired a guy named Dr. Lenny Wiersma, another excellent practitioner. And so they just made these two hires to help the caseload model within the Cal Athletics and within Cameron Institute. So the Cameron Institute itself has grown a lot in all the pillars, and then also, as well as, like, these are the first hires of the mental performance, and we hope to really build it out. And if we do good enough work, then hopefully we create some more jobs for more people and through this. But it's remarkable to come in and see the work that Greg's obviously done, and just the opportunity that and the want and need for the mental performance at the collegiate level.
I like you guys are taking that approach, right? You're trying to build a 360-degree athlete specifically with those pillars. And the more universities or places that I think that can try to develop a model similar to that is definitely going to help the athletes. So they're not just a singular athlete, right? They have multiple modes of support that are going to essentially help them in their needs or maximize their potential of where they're at. We do something where I'm at right now. We call it pro habits, right? Because we're trying to put guys in position, whether it's going to college or going to the pros, and provide them with the tools to allow them to have what they need going into those next levels or situations they're going to deal with. Because as you know, and I know, working with high school athletes, a lot of these guys and girls, depending on the environment they come from, don't always get these tools from home, from their parents, from their surroundings, maybe the school that they were at, which may not be their fault. It's just how it was and what it was. But we provide things like financial literacy, nutrition, communication, how to deal with social media and content, sports psychology, maybe not exactly the same thing that you're doing, but we are providing similar aspects that I think will help the athlete deal with them at a higher level, and it's become more stressful, right? Just, the stress continues to add on from different areas, and it's how can you, I'm sure you could speak on that a little bit, how can you manage those different stressors when you get to that point?
I think that's such a good point. That's something that made me really appealed to this job here, is the way that it's a holistic view, right? And it's not just, we're not talking just about athletics. I mean, even if you look at my title, it's mental performance and life skills consultant, right? Like, it's something that we're actually trying to get you to take, like, when you're away from here and you move on from Cal and you go, either you play professionally, you go work in the industry, you go work in business, whatever it is, that you have all the tools that you need because of your time here. Like, you have the academics, you got your athletic training, then you got all these extra resources to turn around and make you the best version of yourself, or continue to strive to. And hopefully that helps you. High performance is everywhere, man. It's not just on the field. It's not just on the court. It's everywhere in life. And those are some things that we try to kind of take with us and train. And obviously y'all are doing the same thing at Overtime Elite.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I tell the athletes all the time, your body is your business, right?
Mm.
Doesn't matter where you are as an athlete, anywhere you go, high school, college, professionals, out into a real business world, like, everything to a certain extent is going to come down to money, is going to come down to business, and it's going to come down to decisions that have to be made to put the business in the best possible situation it can be. So it's like, what I'll say is, are you investing in your business and investing in utilizing the different support staff that you have? So that way, when you're getting from high school to college, right? Are you in a position where you got a scholarship? Are you going to a Division I school? Nowadays, were you in a position where you were able to utilize and monetize off of content and media and NIL deals that's putting you in a financial position to set you up for a positive future, not only for yourself, your family, your significant other, whoever it may be, right? The more investments you're putting in now at this younger age, then hopefully it's putting you in a better position as you progress, no matter where you go throughout your career.
Yeah. Investing over spending, man. That's the name of the game right there.
Now, obviously, you mentioned life skills a couple of times. Like, do you feel, with the current age we're at and the athletes that are coming up, like, do you see more and more athletes with less life skills, or like being taught less of these skills as they're kind of coming up and through? And if so, like, what do you think may be the cause of that?
Yeah, I don't know that I would say, like, maybe that they have less life skills. It's more like, how are we intentional with what it is? And the more research that's come out on effectiveness with the way you communicate with people, the way you listen, the way you actually present yourself, and, like, you want to tie in the NIL, like, what's your brand, and what's your brand outside of basketball or football or baseball or whatever it is. Like, who are you as a person, right? It's like kind of how you asked me the first question here. So I think now there's just such a tough culture, man. Social media could be really good and it can be really bad, but anything that anybody does is seen on a public platform now, right? And you don't have any grace period with that. And so I think that that they've come up in this world, and they've come up to this point with the social media, and there's just been nothing that's like, really, like, how are we intentional with the actual life skills and making sure that you're as close in line with who you are and who you say you are, right? Like, and we want those two gaps to narrow as much as possible. And so I think just the ability to polish those things, to work on them together. And, I know for myself, I'm like, I'm helping life skills and I don't feel like I got life figured out yet, So like
Yeah, we're in our
there's
30s.
that.
They're like, man, there's stuff that I could still get some help on from some other
Yeah,
individual.
absolutely, man. And there's every day. So, and there really is equally like, without sounding cliche, is like stuff that I learned from the athletes. And I'm like, oh, I like that. Like, I want to figure that out too. And we're trying to figure out like, how can you be your best right now? And so, I think, the way that they've been raised and this generation is now, and there is so much attention on the social media, the posts, the likes, and that stuff. And then, the focus on getting jobs now, man. Like I can tell you, even going through this job, like job market is really competitive. Like if you want a job and what you want to do, like it's going to be competitive. And we were talking about that earlier with people, especially coming out of grad school and stuff. It's like, you have to find a way to be authentic to yourself, but figure out how you're going to contribute to a program and also like grow and develop it as your own. So, and any type of life skill with that, with, like I said earlier, like the communication, the listening, the engaging, the understanding your values and how they drive your behavior, and doing those things on a day-to-day basis to show up as who you are, as closest to who you say you are. That's the goal, man. And that's stuff that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, and a lot of those things, like you mentioned, people just coming out of school, you're not going to learn a lot of the stuff all just from school, and then think all of a sudden you're going to go into a position and take it over and lead it and be that guy or be that girl. I mean, you've told me it when we first started talking before we jumped on here. It's just you need experience, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's unfortunate, but like you're going to need real hands-on experience. That may be a fellowship, that may be an internship, that may be a GA position, that maybe you have to go and volunteer and do stuff, maybe not for 40 hours a week, but I don't know, 5 to 15 hours a week. We are actually getting experience in the field doing it on a regular basis, because the things that you deal with day in and day out internally, not many people know about until you're actually in the muck of it and dealing with it, right? We all see
Yeah.
big logos, the schools, the places, this looks amazing. And then once you're actually in there doing it, your thought about it may not be the exact same. Like I was telling you too, like I did a nutrition panel for two universities here in Georgia. And I mean, every single person in the panel was just honest, upfront, and realistic with, like, this is what sports nutrition is. This is what you're going to get into. This is what you may deal with. There's certain stuff that's going to be terrible. You're not going to like it. And guess what? Like, it is what it is. And then there's going to be stuff that
Yeah.
hopefully you can develop and grow depending on the staff and people and the environment that you have there. But not everything is going to go your way as soon as you take that cap off and you're walking out the door of your diploma.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's such a great point, and you gotta think about longevity too, right? So if you come out right away, and there's a lot of people coming out of grad school now that want to go work in college or pro sports, and you might get that job right off the bat, but you don't know what you don't know yet. And there's so much to be said about actually like doing the work. I felt for me being at IMG Academy was an amazing experience. And I started off as a summer staff there for 9 weeks, and then got hired in a full-time role, and then got hired into a senior role, quite like yourself there, a little senior role over there at IMG. But I've now been able to go through 4 years. Like, I've worked with athletes for a 4-year period, and I'm able to evolve my content. I've built out 10-month curriculums and able to evolve that over 2-3 year periods. Because you can go to professional sports and you can go to college sports, but can you get that second contract, right? And that's something that's, if you're out there and you don't really know exactly what you're doing, right, or you don't have the most experience, and you haven't gone through these years of actually evolving what you're doing in the same audience before you step onto a little bit higher level of a scene, it's going to be hard. And then, as well as I do, is people talk in pro sports and in college athletics, and if you don't do a good job one place, like that's on your resume forever. Like
It's
that follows you ever. So
it's a small world and everybody knows each other. And
yeah.
it
Oh
does
yeah.
and not, oh, I just know another mental coach or another mental performance professional. No, I know this athletic trainer. I know the strength coach. Like, everybody knows somebody and they all have a tree. It's just what branch of the tree, if you don't do a great job, or is that going to affect you at several other places?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, there's not a bunch of new universities and new professional teams and stuff opening up. I say that, and there's the USFL and there's the XFL, right? Like, there's where I work at, and we open up, and that's new, right? But the financial backing to be able to open up a brand new sports league definitely takes a lot and doesn't come around every day. So you really got to be on your P's and Q's and making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Because when you get in these positions, you hopefully did a great job where people are talking positively about you, that you're selling your business yourself without having to do much. And other
Yeah.
people are selling you to somewhere else that says, like, you'd be crazy if you didn't hire this person, and then you got 4 or 5 people calling up that place and saying, like, yeah, like, they're legit. Like, I don't care who else you have, like, they're the guy, they're the girl that you need to bring on.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that, it's a good transition here going into, building relationships, rapport, trust. Could you talk a little bit about how you do that, either with your athletes currently, and also how that's also very important, not just with the athlete, but also probably the support and coaching staff that goes along with those teams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, mine and yours started with our handshake that we had going through the hallway every time I see you. No, man, and this is something that I feel really, really passionate about, and this is something that you hear a lot. Like, everyone will tell you relationships is important, but I don't think everybody can prioritize the time to do it. Probably everybody's capable of it, but actually, like, intentionally do it, and this is something that I'm challenged with now, is coming into a state that's new to me, a university that's new to me, and everything, where, so I have 8 teams, and I couldn't even tell you the total number of athletes, a couple hundred athletes right now, depending on how you count them up. And it's the athletes, it's the coaches, it's all the coworkers, everybody that you're trying to meet that's so new. And the way I operate is I've always wanted to build the best relationships as possible. I think the relationships is the most important bridge to impacting and supporting at their performance level. And, for me, it's always wanting to come in, and I made this mistake when I was younger, is like thinking you knew, and thinking you knew what athletes were going through, thinking you knew where they come up, just because they're basketball players, right? So you go to a basketball gym. I used to be a basketball coach. I grew up in the gym, like, and you just thought from a mental performance side, like, oh yeah, I know what's going on. I already know who they are. I know what they're thinking, and that's really no clue at all. So I've learned to become really curious about people, and I think that's how I want to go about this. And I've told everyone here, like, hey, I want to get to know you as a person first, and then we'll help you as a performer, right? And there's some things that you need to, like, all right, we need to get on. Like, obviously, you got a game next week, we need to hop on the performer bandwagon as well. But we're gonna start with that. So I'm really intentional in my individual sessions that I have with anybody, is I'll allow the first 5-10 minutes just for relationships. Just, how's it going? How's your family doing? What's your dog doing? Anything like that. What kind of shoes you like? What kind of music are you into? Why do you like this? Where are you from? Hey, what do you think? I'll ask them a question about something that's going on. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about this situation that's going on in the world? What do you think about this game last night? Like, what are your thoughts? What do you want out of life? And just little things like that. And, just getting to know them as people. And that's something that I really want to do. And, I think the biggest misconception about relationships is that people think once you have them, that it's good. Like, you're done. You don't have to invest in it. And the relationship, every interaction you have in a relationship, you're either making it better or you're making it worse. And that could be the littlest thing, in the way you say hi to someone, right? The way you actually, like, do you actually ask them how their day is, right? You ask someone, hey, how's your day? And you're just, like, still walking down the hall, right? And that's telling me, like, right off the bat, like, you're just saying that as, like, a thing. Whereas, like, if I'm gonna ask you how your day is, I got to make sure I got a couple of minutes to actually to do that. So, when you go into a new place, you also have to balance how much do you share about yourself and how much do you want to know about them, right? Because they're interviewing you just as much as you are as them, and wanting to get to know them. So figuring out, like, what messages do I want to communicate to a group? What messages do I want to communicate to a coach that's really authentic to me? But I also want to know that about you. So anything I can find out about life, what got them to where they're at, and what they want out of life, and those things. And I'm really, really good at remembering pieces like that. And I want to check in with it. Like, if you told me that you got something going on, or something happened with family, or you're really excited about something that comes up over a week later, I'm gonna follow up with you the day after and make sure that like, hey, I was here, I was thinking about it. and where you at. But to me, like, so much of my work goes into prioritizing the actual relationships with coaches, with athletes, with colleagues, because it's at the end of the day, man, it's all we have. Like I said, all we have is relationships with other humans, and the rest of it, we can go from there and build on that. But to be really intentional, and the other thing I'll say here is like understanding different cultures and diversity, and being so fortunate to work with so many diverse populations and have that opportunity. I really, really prioritize that in my work and really value those opportunities to work in diverse groups and to understand different ways of how do people do things? How do they do things growing up? What's this like for your culture? What's this like where you were raised? And then, it's never, for me in my sessions, it's never, hey, we got to do this my way because this is it. I'm gonna try to take everyone's experience of ways that they grew up and how can I evolve what I'm doing to try to understand them, and maybe that I can make that more relevant for them because of the way that they thought about things, because of the way they were raised and where they come from, and where they come from in the world, different races, ethnicities, and how can I really understand that part of your experience and align my skills and try to adapt that to make that most relevant for you. It's never like you're gonna come in and listen to Michael Urban the whole time. That's out. It's out. Like I don't do that. So trying to prioritize those things.
I think the big thing is you can never make assumptions about anybody, right? I think a lot of times
No.
we see a person or we see someone right off the bat and they're like, oh, they're this athlete or they're this coach, or I'm going to have to deal with this, right? And we're reactive with our assumptions of what we think the person's going to be before we even say a word, sit down, talk to them, versus everything you just said. Let me get to know the person. And if they are acting a certain way, if they're communicating a certain way, or if their personality is of a certain nature, okay, well, why? Where is it coming from? And was that due to their past environment and just that's what they know and that's what they've grown up on? I'm going to be doing a talk here soon on my sports dietitian. That's going to be like a summit just for like talking about high school athletes, and like my conversation is going to be about how do we educate the next generation of athletes, right? And athletes don't want to be, and I got this from our academics team here, athletes don't want to be talked at, right? They want you to, they want to, nowadays, they want to be able to have a say in things. They want to be able to interject in the learning or the growth or what they're going to get out of certain stuff. It can't be just put up a PowerPoint, put up a bunch of words, and I'm going to talk at you for like 30, 45 minutes. Here's some things I can do. Let me survey. What do you guys want to get out of this? Okay, this is the feedback you gave me. Test them and show them like, this is where I need to get you first before we can get to point A, point B, point C, point D, whatever it may be. But I took your information. I'm listening to you. I'm getting to know who you are. And that's then allowing me to make a decision, but I'm also including your decision to then get us to the point that we need to be at the end of the day. So we're working alongside each other with the athletes or obviously the support staff. We're not just telling and trying to make and force the athletes to do something, because it just don't work.
Yeah, it doesn't, man. And I try to think about that too. And that's like, two things that always happen in line with that is like I tell people in our first session, like, I'm going to ask you to participate. Like, I don't want to stand up here and talk to you the whole time. I want to hear your voice. And that's feedback that I've gotten from a lot of athletes. Like, hey, man, I didn't believe you up front. You made us talk every session, so given that. And then the other thing I think is like, when you look, so say you got a group of 20-year-old athletes, right? And they're all in there. It's like the only thing that all these athletes really have in common is that they've been on this earth for 20 years, right? Like, it's just the timepiece. Like, it's the only thing that now where they grew up, the way they were parented, their friends, their high school experience, their middle school, every little thing, right, that goes into it has evolved the way that they see the world, has shaped the way that they think. And you want to try to do your best to understand what shaped those things, and then how can I align with that. Now you could say like, oh yeah, we lived in Indiana together because it's just such a great state, right? Like you got that, but like even where you live at, right, we could have lived next door neighbors and my lot was still different than your lot. And what happened in that lot was different than that. And it's just, there's so many things that influence who we actually are and who we become. And tying back into those life skills things is like, we want to incorporate who you are and be authentic to yourself. And we want to make sure your actions show up just in line with that as well.
And we want to make them comfortable and be able to have a safe space to be able to talk. Because we know a lot of times people, it's challenging to talk in front of your teammates, other support staff, right? You don't want to be judged. You don't want to be in a position where you're going to get, flack later on at some time. So the more we can make, it a positive experience, and so that everyone can learn and everyone get something from it, the better. And again, I definitely like what you said there, right? Is, if we're in those group sessions, we're educating, but then we're giving them a skill on how to apply it. You're educating for another 5 minutes, then you're doing an activity or something tactile or something where they have to, like, for example, we just did a couple food demos over the last month, right? We're educating, but they're getting real life tactile experience and education. We're right there in them, like they're learning how to do it. So if they wanted to go home and back to their apartment or wherever they live, they could do that specific skill that day, or at least try to do the skill that day. So then at least we're having some more real life application a lot quicker than talk for you for 30 minutes. I know a bunch of stuff, but now I go out into the field, the court, the weight room. In our case, we're not into the servery. But what do I do with all this info, right? If we can't transition the info into real life application, then it's just a bunch of info that we know.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do as practitioners, especially in the mental performance realm, is always providing the how, right? Like, what's the actual how for this? You get a lot of people that, can come off as, maybe more motivational speaking, or it sounds really good. And, like you said, it's like, well, where does it actually apply in my sport, and how can I increase my focus? How can I increase my actual confidence, instead of you telling me like, oh, you just got to wake up and be confident, right? It's like that doesn't even make sense. So, in the how piece, and, when I think about my sessions and working with athletes, like as far as this is, like, I always ask myself two questions. Like, one, can I summarize the sentence in one sentence, like one sentence? So it was 45-minute session. Can I summarize it in one sentence? Because if I can't, they can't. And then two is, what's the one how that they can walk out of here with? And if you got that, then, hopefully they can transfer that information, like you were saying.
And you'll know really fast, right? We had a very fortunate experience where, we went in the classroom, we did one-on-ones in our office, but we were out there in the field on the court, right? Where they were practicing on a regular basis. So you knew pretty quickly if the athlete was dealing with something performance-wise, if they're dealing with something with off the court, right? You're standing right there and you just had this session or you had something that week, and all of a sudden, like, you're going to know, all right, did what I tell them get across to them? If it did, all right, am I seeing that change out on the court or out on the field? Okay, yeah, I'm seeing they're using some of the skills that we talked about, and it's making a difference. Or, nah, this person, and we can't say like they didn't listen, they didn't care, they didn't want to learn about it. All right, well, how do I now come at this a different way? Because apparently that athlete's still doing the same behavior they were before. And I must have not been able to get across to them in those moments and in that session. So instead of saying like they just don't care, they don't want to learn it. All right, well, that athlete, I'm going to have to try a different approach. And I think that makes the difference between, an average practitioner and a higher level practitioner, because the higher level practitioner wants the challenge and doesn't want to give up on the athlete until they've exhausted all the different things that they can try to throw at them to see how they can get the information across to hopefully see the importance and let them make the choice to make that change.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of humility in our work, man. Like, if I walk out of a session like everyone's good, I'm like, ooh, I don't know, actually, like, because there should be some, right? Because you get back to that athlete that's maybe not understanding. It's like, well, how did they grow up? How do they best process information, right? And what's there? So getting back to kind of what we talked about with the relationships piece early on, and, being able to actually evolve that. And I think questions are great, or you notice the little moments like that is like, well, all right, this is going to make me better, and hopefully I can make them better too. That's a great point.
So do you, since you're in a new environment now, like, obviously it sounds like you have to observe, communicate, have conversations. So are you taking the same template from where you are to now, or based on what you initially observe when you get there, that's then allowing you to mold how you're going to approach things?
Yeah, definitely. That's it's definitely the latter. There is, I came in, and, like I said earlier, I didn't want to come in thinking like, all right, I was really successful with these things at IMG. I knew this, and this is going to work here. Like, I didn't want to do that. So what I did want to do is build relationships, and what I did want to do is collaborate with the coaches. Like I think the coach consultant relationship is so important. Coaches have a really hard job, and they know the team more than anybody. Like they've recruited that team, they've trained that team, they've been around, they've been doing it for so long. Like, so I don't want to come in and like, oh well, I think we could do XYZ because I was really successful with this at my last job, or I've had really good success with this. Like, so my strategy has been to meet with all of our coaches and just be curious, like I said earlier, like curious about, ways that they grew up playing, curious about where they're from, curious about how long they've been here, and then curious about, what do they see for the team? What do you think for the team? You are by all means the expert in understanding your team and the dynamics, and how can my skill set now align with what you're looking for with the team, right? So if I'm working with 8 different teams, you're probably going to see 8 different initial sessions, 8 different second sessions, and we're not going to, even if I plug and play a value session, how I do it with one group is going to be totally different how I do it with another, just based on where they're at and what they need. Are they in season? Are they out of season? Are they going through a recruiting process right now? What are they really trying to get better at? What do the coaches see? And then the other thing is like I said, I'm about that earlier with giving the athletes a voice. So what do you all see? What do you all think we need to get better at? And that's something that I've checked in with people after every team session, is wondering, hey, what did you think? Hey, do you think this is relevant for your team? I don't know, because you're the one here every day and you're the one seeing this. Let me know. Like, I want that feedback, and I tell them all, like, hey, if that was terrible, let me know. Please let me know. And then, hey, if that really hit, like, let me know and we'll build on it. And so I asked a bunch of different coaches and players, and one of the things that I did do at IMG that I probably do this year and as well is continue to ask them and do, some informal exit interviews with them, right? Like, hey, what'd you think from mental? How can we make it better? What would you want different? And just those things. So being able to actually like focus right now up front on like the relationships with the coaches, the assistant coaches, anybody that's involved in the program, right? Like, I want them to have a say so. Like, I think if you're in the building, you're important, so anything that you got, like, I want them to, what do you see? What do you think? And then I'll be able to build my curriculum for there. I'll be able to build my sessions from there. But no, I can't. I don't want to just come in and plug and play things just because I was successful with them at IMG.
No, you can't have a cookie cutter approach. That's just, and you're going to get exposed pretty quickly, either whether it's by coaches and support staff or it's by the athletes. So you're going to figure out real fast. Everybody talks. Oh, Mike just did this with us. Well, he did this with us. Oh, well, it's the same thing. And it's like, he's not doing something, everyone wants things that are individualized to their team. So even though if you're using the same template or ideals that you want to utilize, like, it's just tweaking it to making sure that it's going to fit what our cultures of that team. Now, how do you deal with cultures that are already really successful, and then you got to go in there and it's like, we've been winning the last 15 years. Like, why do we need a mental coach? Versus maybe some coaches now that are younger have started to get exposed to actual mental conditioning or life skills. Coaches know the importance. How do you deal with some of those seasoned support staff or coaches that may not know like what you can do?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I want to learn from them, right? Like, you've been around for 15 years, you've been really successful, however long it is, like any type of success, anybody at this level, I want to learn from, because if you're here, you're good. That's the thing. It's like you've done something really well, and like you have a great pulse on coaching, and so I think that one, you come in more and you just want to be around more. You just want to observe more, and just kind of, hey, can I watch a practice? Can I watch this? Can I meet with you? Can I just talk? And it's okay to go into an environment knowing you don't have to provide value right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want to be around. I just want to see what's going on, and that's where I'm just like, I just want to observe all your winning ways, and then I'm gonna ask.
Overperform. I said under deliver, overperform.
That's it. And I just want to be there, and like, and I am really like very how do I want to say, like, very honest when I say I just want to learn. Like, I just want to take that and just like, yeah, I just want to be around. And once you see me in the environment, you'll start to recognize who I am and know that I'm invested, because they got to know you're invested in the team, right? Like, you're not going to just bring someone in and, oh, they can come around whenever they want and just do this one-off thing, get time with. Like, you got to know you're actually with us. Like, are you with us? And I want you to see that, like, I'm here, and I'm really here for the athletes. I'm really here for the coaches to any way I can support, so for those teams, I think, all right, I'll ask a lot of questions. What have you done in the past? What have you found to be successful? What mental skills do you all use already that are helping you win? Right. And then I love that. And I want to hear where you're at. And then it's like, hey, can we just move the needle 1%? Right. Just 1%. Whether it's even if I just meet with one athlete on a team that wants to do that, if we do one team session, all my coaches have say so and like where we're going with team. So I'm always, hey, what are we thinking? Here's where I'm thinking. What do you think this team could use? And then, we'll go from there. But it's a lot about being around early on to just show that you're invested in that team more so than, you have other coaches that are great, super over it. We want it. We want to get it. We want to do it. And then it's like, you got a wide open door, come on through and figure it out and do what you want, but this is, each team, each coach is so unique and it's just a process for it. And, I think, but yeah, being visible in that environment early on is really huge.
I think a couple of things you said, they're always allowing everyone's opinion to be heard. I think
absolutely
is very important. Some practitioners, when they come in, they just want to come and change the world right away. And that's not the result that you want. That can be very off-putting at times, whereas if you listen to the opinion and you can come to a compromise, especially if it's a very challenging coach or individual or support staff. And then, even if you don't have the best relationship, like if the athlete got something out of it or the team improved, ultimately you're there to serve and help the athlete. So that's the ultimate goal that we all want at the end of the day, whether that's one more win, whether this athlete was in a really rough state when they got there and you helped them get out of that position. And now that's, positively helping their performance, whatever little thing we can do, whether it's one athlete, the whole team, like you said, that 1 or 2%, everything is going to help and make a difference at the end of the day for, the coach's overall goal and where they want to get. And again, at that level of Division I of the pros, everyone wants to win. So did you just help me win another game, or did you just help us get in a position to get to the playoffs? And if you could play that role, that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. And like you said there, and I really believe this, and it's something you learn, early out of grad school, is it's not about you. It's never about you. Like you can't have an ego going into these environments. Like, if you can help, that's fine. You don't know the best route. You can't go into a team unseen and just know like, oh yeah, I know exactly what we need to do. It's just, you got to be able to leave kind of your ego out the way and just fully embrace that mindset of full support and service, which is kind of when you asked me who I was, is like, I've lived in that. Like I'm a service model now where I just want to help, and I want to help anybody I can in any way I can, and whatever that looks like, I'll do it.
Right. Be humble, and at the end of the day, and not everything you're gonna receive criticism wise of what you're gonna like, but it's what can I make out of it and what can I do going forward? How can we progress? But Mike, I really appreciate having you on the podcast. Any information that Mike wants to give up for people to contact him, I'll make sure I put that in the bio. All of my different services I provide: sports nutrition, exercise technique, more podcast episodes, YouTube channel. I got all that on my Linktree link for all my digital links. If you want to hit that up and get more information on that, you guys can do that. But again, Mike, really appreciate you coming on the podcast, taking some time to give us some knowledge bombs for our audience.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate this. And like Sean said, anybody that wants to ever reach out, connect, have some virtual coffee, whatever we got to do, I would love to do it, man. So please feel free to reach out. And always great talking to you, man. And really happy our paths crossed, and look forward to keeping this moving forward together.
You too, my guy. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, man. That's it.